So this is Ryan. He's 5.5 now. So this is when a little bit before and a little bit after when all of this started. It wasn't until November 2015 that we received Ryan's SCN8A diagnosis, but our journey with the disease began on December 24th, 2011, one day shy of Ryan turning 5 months old. Over the course of 1 month, Ryan experienced 3 events, which consisted of body stiffening and turning blue due to a lack of oxygen. Events was how the doctors kept referring to them, because at the time I was the only one that was seeing him in these moments of distress. After the 3rd trip to the hospital, I explained to the doctors that if they discharged Ryan, I was going to sit with him in the ER, because there was no doubt in my mind that this was going to happen again. Needless to say, Ryan was not discharged, and not only did the events occur again, they came on with a vengeance. Following an 8-day stay in the hospital, Ryan was diagnosed with a seizure disorder of unknown etiology. This was also the time when we first met Ryan's neurologist, Dr. Ethan Goldberg. Little did I know that what an instrumental part he would play in Ryan's life and the life of my family. The first course of action for Ryan was phenobarbital, which worked very well at controlling his seizures. However, due to his typical functioning and cognitive development, the plan would be to eventually wean the phenobarbital and introduce a different medication. When that time came, Keppra was the drug of choice, and it came with many more seizures. After several weeks of seizures, 911 calls, ambulance rides, hospital stays, and increases in dosage, I pleaded with Dr. Goldberg to try something different. He agreed that it was time, and he prescribed trileptal. This was our miracle drug. It worked almost instantaneously. For the next 21 months, not only did Ryan remain seizure-free, he continued to grow, develop, learn, and thrive. Although we were always ready to act if another seizure occurred, we were really starting to think that just maybe he had outgrown the seizures. But as the saying goes, ignorance is bliss. On July 27, 2015, just 2 days after turning 4 years old, Ryan experienced a seizure, which resulted in a trip to the ER. Once there, the seizures kept coming. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was decided that the best course of care would be for Ryan to be admitted to the PICU. As soon as we arrived on the floor, we were surrounded by many doctors and nurses. It was very difficult to keep up with everything going on, but I did hear one of the doctors say that she thought Ryan was still seizing. All I could think was that if he was still indeed in the middle of a seizure, this could have been happening for the past hour. And sure enough, that was the case. I learned several new vocabulary words that day: status epilepticus, encephalopathy, intubation, PICC line, lumbar puncture. When Ryan was finally extubated, it took longer than anticipated for him to regain consciousness. As a result, an MRI was conducted. We were told that Ryan had inflammation on the brain. When I asked what that meant for him going forward, the doctor's exact words to me were, "Some kids do not recover from this, but some kids do. They're just never the same." Then she just stood there staring at me. At that moment, I felt like Ryan's life was over, which in essence meant mine was as well. I spoke with Dr. Goldberg after the fact, and he assured me that although Ryan's condition was indeed acute, it was also not that black and white. When Ryan finally did wake up, he had to relearn how to do everything: walk, talk, eat, drink, use the restroom, and even see. As a result of the status, he experienced central vision loss. Thankfully, this was only temporary. As hard as all of this was to watch, the most difficult thing for me to witness as his mother was watching him have to relearn how to play. He had no idea what to do with his favorite toys: his cars, his trucks, blocks, musical instruments. In many ways, I had a 4-year-old infant. I remember crying so hard that I couldn't breathe. I would just sit next to his bed, hold his hand, and take in his scent. Although this was an extremely dark time, the clouds did eventually begin to lift. After 68 days in the hospital and the rehab setting, we were finally able to take our baby home. By January, he was back in school, and by March, we really started to feel like we had gotten our little boy back. He truly did make a miraculous recovery. As I'm sure is the case for many of you, as the parents here, I have asked myself many times, why Ryan? Why us? Although this is a devastating diagnosis and I would give my life to take it away from Ryan, I do believe that we were all chosen for a reason. It takes a strong person to endure what our children and all of us have been through. The strength, perseverance, and resiliency that emanates from each of these precious children is all-inspiring. We as their parents are also pretty amazing. I think it's hard to remember that. It's hard to remember how strong we are when the weight that we carry is often so unbearable. But we were blessed with these children. They have no better advocate, no better teacher, and no better cheerleader. For the doctors and researchers here, I also believe that you were chosen to do what you do as well. If you ever question that, I want you to take a look at the magnets that are sitting in front of you. Those children staring back at you are the reason. And behind them are the parents, grandparents, and siblings who are so desperate for a cure. Before I end, I want to personally thank Dr. Goldberg for the dedicated professional and man that he is. There is no doubt in my mind that Ryan would not be where he is today without him. As if he doesn't have a big enough challenge fighting epilepsy, including SCN8A, he's been dealing with this mom for 5 years. And trust me, that's no easy task. I just wanted to take this time to publicly thank him for all his work. There truly are no words that can adequately express my gratitude.